You can start.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking out time today for attending the session. At the outset, we wish for everyone's safety and good health. I'm Farah Ahmed from Arts Pankaj DWC LLC, and we would like to thank Dubai South for their continuing support and collaboration in conducting these VAT education sessions under the Dubai South Sustainable Development Goals. It is our shared objective that the social distancing should not impact business continuity and critical tax compliance. In today's session, we will discuss a place of supply of services and export of services rule. Our today's speaker is Pankaj S. Jain. Pankaj leads the team of Ask Pankaj DWC LLC. He's completed his chartered accountancy from PricewaterhouseCoopers with an All India 29th rank. He also holds a master's degree in commerce and a bachelor's degree in law. He's a qualified chartered tax advisor from UK for European tax laws. He possesses over 15 years of work experience in tax advisory, consultancy, and litigation. Pankaj has also worked with KPMG Belfast, Deloitte, Polar India, and the National Head of Taxation in Coca-Cola India. A brief introduction about Ask Pankaj, DWC LLC. We provide advisory, compliance, and litigation services in the field of taxation, including VAT, excise, customs, economic substance regulation, and corporate tax. We are also a registered tax agency with the Federal Tax Authority. We are a growing team of chartered accountants, tax experts, MBA, lawyers, with a combined work experience of more than 30 years. Our team have the experience of working with Big Fours, law firms, and leading corporates. We are proud to be serving leading companies across the globe from Australia, China, France, Germany, India, Ireland, Lebanon, Switzerland, UK, US in UAE taxation. Now, before we begin today's session, let us quickly understand the control panel appearing on your screen right now with the 4 buttons. There's the arrow button on the top left that will help you to expand or collapse the control panel. Your mics have been muted by the organizers, and we will unmute you during the Q&A session. The Windows button will help you to view the webinar in full screen and adjust the speaker's web camera and presentation slides. Please use the Hands button during the Q&A session for asking a query. You can also write your queries to us in the expanded control panel as indicated on your screen. We recommend that you download the handouts from our handout sessions for your future references. So now to start the session, I would like to hand it over to Pankaj.
Thanks, Farah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and we welcome you for today's webinar on the place of supply services and export of service rules. So in this sessions, we will cover, we have divided the whole webinar into 4 sections, wherein we will discuss the place of supply rules first. Thereafter, we will explain and discuss the interplay with the export of service rule, especially for the zero rating. We'll also do, as these webinar series we are doing on a monthly basis, the monthly updates since our last webinar, and followed by the Q&A sessions. We will pick up the questions that you are posting it on the control panel as well as the live Q&A. So to start with, let me start with a case study, wherein a simple one to start with. We have a service provider based in UAE and the service recipient also based in UAE. Both in terms of invoice as well as the services providing directly to the service recipient, but the service is in relation to an advisory on the French tax laws. Now, this is a simple case that even if the subject matter of the advisory services or tax law outside UAE, VAT is still applicable because both the service provider and service recipient are in the UAE. Let me take now a slightly tweaked example wherein the service provider is invoicing to a recipient in France, but the subject matter of service is an advertisement campaign in UAE. So in this case, the question arises whether UAE VAT is applicable because the service recipient is outside UAE and we are invoicing to an outside party. However, the advertisement campaign has been performed in UAE. So why don't we actually take a quick poll of the audience on this question? We'll just launch the poll and you can answer in yes, no, or don't know scenario. If you could, another 10 seconds for the poll to remain open. You can see the poll on your screen. We have a service provider in UAE invoicing to a recipient in France for an advertisement campaign performed in UAE. You can click in yes, no, and submit the answer. We are closing the poll in 5 seconds. So just to share the result of the poll, we have about 61% of the participants saying yes, VAT would be applicable. 29% says no, VAT would not be applicable, and 10% of the participants are not yet sure. And the whole idea is basically to emphasize the importance of place of supply in this context, because the discussion in this webinar will help you decide what is the place of supply and how to determine. We are not yet answering the question that in this case whether the VAT would be applicable or not. So moving on, any transaction, a supply of services needs to be basically determined whether the place of supply is in the UAE or outside UAE. It is not the case that none of the place of supply could be either of the location. It's a mutually exclusive decision. If a place of supply is outside UAE, then the services or the taxability is outside the scope of VAT, because the country, just hold on, there is a slide, yeah. Because the place of supply being outside UAE, it is totally outside the scope of VAT. However, if the place of supply of services in UAE does not necessarily mean that VAT is applicable, then we need to decide whether the export of service rules are applicable, in which case the supply would be zero rated. On the other hand, if export of service rules are not applicable, then those supply of services could either be standard rated, or it is still possible that those services could be exempt, especially in case of residential accommodation or financial services. So the crux being that just because the place of supply is in UAE does not necessarily mean that VAT is applicable. We still need to do one more step of determining and checking the export of service rules. Now, in terms of the FTA guidance, this basically provides exactly the same thing, that a supply is something which is in the UAE, and to determine something is in the UAE, the place of supply rules are applicable. And further on, we determine the eligibility for zero rating. So now we come, how do we determine the place of supply of services? To start with, there is always a basic rule of place of supply. In the subsequent slides, we will discuss this basic rule in detail. However, this basic rule is overridden by certain special rules in the specific scenarios. So first special rule relates to offshoring, when we are providing services to a overseas customer in the implementing states. The second special rule, overriding rule over the basic rule, is onshoring, when we are receiving the services from a foreign service provider. The third special rule relates to installation of goods or the work relating to goods provided by somebody else. Then we have special rule relating to vehicle rentals, and special rule relating to catering, hotels, restaurant services. Another special rule which overrides the basic rule, and we will discuss the interplay of basic rule and the special rule, relates to cultural, artistic, and similar services. Similarly, on land related services, and transportation services, the basic rule does not apply, and we have to look at those special rules. The last special rule in form of a different place of supply rules relates to telecommunication and electronic services. For the purpose of this webinar, we would not be able to discuss all the special rules, and especially rule number 4, 5 and 8 may not be applicable to all the participants. So we will restrict our discussion today on special rule 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 and 9 as appearing on the screen. So let us start with what is the basic rule. So unless we are falling under any of the special rules, we follow the basic rule. The basic rule says that the place of supply of services shall be the place of residence of the supplier. So if there is a supplier based in UAE and the service recipient could be based anywhere within UAE or outside UAE, the place of supply remains that of the residence of the supplier. What is the place of residence of the supplier? It could either be the place of establishment or a fixed establishment, which in turn, simply speaking, place of establishment is where the business is legally registered. So if you have a trade license registered in the UAE, your place of establishment would be UAE. The concept of fixed establishment is very interesting because fixed establishment does not operate based on the trade license or business license granted to the companies. By concept, fixed establishment is a place where the supplier or the recipient has sufficient human and technology resources to provide the services. So if I have the basic classic example that is always given, in cruise ship, we have these gaming machines. So somebody can put coin on the gaming machine and then play the game. The owner of the gaming machine is not traveling in the cruise ship always. Of course, the company which owns the gaming machines may be based in UAE or anywhere. So the question arises, merely by placing the gaming machine in a cruise ship, do I establish the fixed establishment in the cruise ship? The similar case was handled by the European Court of Justice under the European VAT, and it was held, yes, the gaming machine constitutes the necessary human and technology resources to provide the gaming services. And even though the company is registered, let's say in UAE, the fixed establishment from where the services have been provided is a cruise ship. And then we need to see whether the cruise ship was in UAE at the time the services were provided. So identifying the fixed establishment is very important to operate the basic rule from where we are providing the service. This basic rule is overridden, as we mentioned, on the special rules. Let us start with the special rule 1. The special rule 1 says that if the service recipient, that is the customer, has a place of residence in another implementing state and is registered for tax therein, the place of supply would be that implementing state. Implementing state as a concept are the member states of GCC which have implemented VAT. So as of today, we have Saudi Arabia, UAE and Bahrain which have implemented VAT. However, none of these countries have been yet declared and recognized as implementing state. But for the purpose of this webinar, we are just explaining the concept of implementing state. So let's take an example. A UAE-based supplier provides services to a customer in KSA, whose VAT registered in KSA. So in this case, the place of supply will become KSA, and for the purpose of UAE VAT, the supply will be outside the scope of UAE VAT. There are provisions under the respective VAT laws of Bahrain, KSA and UAE, wherein the UAE supplier may be required to obtain VAT registration depending on the registration status of the customer. But as you would notice that in special rule 1, the importance is the customer should be VAT registered in the recipient state, in KSA in this example. So, but obvious, the customer would account for VAT under the reverse charge mechanism. Moving on to the second special rule, which says that if the service recipient is in business and has a place of establishment means where the company is registered or the fixed establishment in UAE, but the supplier does not have a place of residence in UAE. So we are talking about overseas supplier. The place of supply becomes UAE. So if we take an example, if we have a French supplier providing certain services to a UAE recipient, the place of supply will be UAE. Now, knowing that the place of supply is UAE, the question arises, will the French supplier need to take a UAE VAT registration? That becomes very critical because more often than not, we keep receiving a lot of services from overseas supplier, which includes software services. Of course, we will discuss telecommunication and electronic services separately also, or a legal advisory, tax advisory, market research report, business promotion commission services and everything. Not all overseas suppliers are required to take a registration in UAE under the VAT laws. The reason being, the law says that in a case the service recipient is VAT registered, then they can account for VAT on a reverse charge basis. So in this example, the UAE recipient would account for VAT under the reverse charge mechanism. The overseas supplier in such a scenario is not required to take a VAT registration. It gets excluded from their registration threshold of 375,000 dirhams. Please bear in mind, the UAE recipient is required to account for RCM if they are VAT registered. In case they are not VAT registered, then the French supplier or the overseas supplier would still be required to take the VAT registration. Moving on to the third special rule of installation, which is very interesting because we have a lot of permutation and combination in these rules. To start with, this special rule, so we have the basic rule which says the place of supply would be the place of residence of the supplier. But in case the service relates to the goods provided, supplied by others, take for example, installation of the goods or repair of the goods, the place of supply will be where the services are performed, not the place of residence of the supplier, not the place of residence of the recipient, but the place where the services have been physically performed. So if we take an example, a UAE supplier provides installation services to a KSA customer, and the installation also takes place in Saudi Arabia itself. The place of supply would be KSA and it will be outside the scope of VAT. Simple enough. But let's take an example where for installation or repair services, the physical activity is happening in UAE, but the invoicing for the services are done to the KSA customer. In such a case, the place of supply would still be UAE and it would be taxable under the UAE VAT laws. You would have noticed that in Special Rule 1, we discussed that if the customer is VAT registered in the implementing state, assuming Saudi is the implementing state, then the place of supply becomes the place of residence of the customer. It is not yet clear, and further clarification is awaited from FTA, that between the two special rules, 1 and 3, which will prevail. In our view, since Special Rule 3 is more specific, Special Rule 3 should prevail over Special Rule 1. Let us take one more transaction structure wherein the customer is in UAE, however, the services have been physically performed outside UAE, in example, France. So in this case, please note that even though the supplier is invoicing to the customer within UAE, the place of supply is in France and it will be outside the scope of VAT. So merely the person to whom you are invoicing does not determine the VAT liability. One needs to examine the exact nature of services, whether something is in the nature of work or related to goods. For example, installation. Moving on to the Special Rule 6. which says, and this is something very interesting because there are a lot of issues that arises on this. It says that for the supply of any cultural, artistic, sporting, education, or any similar services, the place of supply shall be where the services are performed. So again, taking an example, you're providing a services to a KSA customer, they are being performed, let's say a music concert. The place of supply is in Saudi Arabia outside the scope of VAT. If you are performing it in the UAE but invoicing to an overseas customer, it would still be taxable because the place of supply is in UAE. And just what we discussed in the last example, if the performance is outside UAE, but you are invoicing to a customer in UAE, the place of supply would still be outside and VAT would not be applicable. It looks very simple when we explain that, okay, just look at the place of performance of the service and then based on that determine whether the place of supply is in UAE or not. However, the question arises, what is the scope of this special rule? So if we take few case studies, let's say a UAE movie actor visits the US for recording a movie. The movie actor services should and could fall under the artistic services. So because he is visiting the US for a recording schedule, the question arises, would US becomes the place of performance? Or the other way around, let's say an Indian movie actors visits the UAE for recording a movie. The production house, the entire crew, everybody belongs to India. They are traveling specially to UAE for the purposes of recording a sequence. They do perform, record, go back. There is nobody in the UAE who's receiving or providing the service. The team travels, records, and go out. To the extent the movie actor would have earned their income for that particular number of days of the shooting and the entire crew, a question arises, would UAE becomes the place of performance? Another typical example that we go through is the tax trainings, keeping in real from the kind of services that we provide is we provide tax trainings to the employees of a French company, but the entire team from the client travels to the UAE for attending the training. So while the training activity is happening in UAE, the invoicing payment is everything done through the French company. And question arises, is UAE becoming the place of performance? To kind of give what the thought goes through, these are the issues which have already been handled by multiple courts, be it in the Indian tax laws or in the European tax laws. And looking at the minute clause through which we determine what is the nature of service. Today, if a movie actor, just to name a person, Tom Hanks, records a movie, everybody would accept that that's an artistic services he's providing. But I don't know if I record a movie or I being hired as to record a movie, would it be said that I am providing artistic services? So therefore, a lot of permutation and combination goes in determining the nature of services and accordingly determining the place of performance of that service. One last example for which another interplay of the dynamics of the VAT laws comes. Let us say a UAE painter paints a portrait of a KSA client, but the entire painting is done in the UAE. So the canvas, oil, everything, and then drawing the portrait happens in the UAE, but the invoicing, everything happens to the KSA client. Of course, since we are talking about drawing of a portrait, the client is physically present in the UAE at the time it's being performed. And for the purpose of example, let's take this portrait is physically delivered to the client by shipping through DHL or a courier company. What is the place of performance of the service? Shall it be the UAE or shall it be the Saudi Arabia? We'll launch one more poll on this question as to if a UAE painter paints a portrait of a KSA client in the UAE, what is the place of performance of the service? Is it UAE or KSA? The audience may give their answer. The entire activity of painting happens in the UAE, and of course painting is artistic services, so we are not disputing whether it's artistic or not. So keep the poll open for another 10 seconds. We have 65% of the participants already voted. So if you look at the result, I think since we are talking about this after discussing the rules, it's fairly clear that 95% of the participants have said that yes, the place of performance is UAE. Whether it falls under export or not, we will discuss it separately. However, one question I have is in this particular case, is the supply that of service or is the supply that of goods? In other words, this is a typical example I always take. If somebody is drawing the portrait, are they providing a service of painting or are they simply providing or selling the goods, namely a painted portrait? And would it make a difference whether the portrait is of a person or if I commission an artist to paint, let's say, Burj Khalifa and give it to me? That's where again the difference arises, whether first identify the supply, whether it's of goods or services, and depending whether it's of goods or services, determine the place of supply, after which we will discuss the export of service rules. But it is fairly clear that whether it's a movie actor or an artistic services, the physical place of performance is relevant. The person who's invoicing and the person to whom the invoice is issued is not relevant. Moving on to the special rule, just checking the slides again. Yeah. Moving on to the special rules of land related services. It says the land related services, the place of supply of such services would be the location of real estate. What is constituted in the real estate services? It's a fairly large list. It's a fairly large list which says, I'm not reading it out the entire thing, but the supply of real estate experts or estate agents, or even the supply of services relating to preparation, coordination, performance of construction or maintenance, demolition of the real estate. The location of real estate is important. So this is something similar that we did, continuing with the same example. If both invoicing and the physical performance happens outside UAE, of course, it's outside the scope of VAT. If the real estate is located in UAE, even if you are invoicing to a customer outside UAE, it would be taxable and it will not be treated as export. And on the other hand, even if you are invoicing to a UAE customer, but the location of the real estate is outside UAE, please don't be confused that since the customer is in UAE, we have to charge VAT. In such a case, the supply of services will be outside the scope of VAT because the place of supply is outside UAE. Moving on to the rule relating to telecommunication and electronic services, which says, because this is something different, we don't go by the location of the supplier, recipient, or the physical performance. It says, for telecommunication and electronic services, place of supply shall be the place of the use and enjoyment of the supply. and the place of the use and enjoyment shall be where such services were used, regardless of the place of contract or payment. Of course, telecommunication services is slightly complex and very peculiar to certain specific service providers. So we are not discussing the scope of telecommunication services in this webinar. However, we will discuss what are electronic services. Within the definition, if you see, few of the things are very common with which on a day-to-day basis we deal either as a service recipient or as a service provider, which includes supply of domain name, web hosting, the supply and updating of software, the providing of advertising space on a website, and we'll discuss something on that in detail. And of course, due to COVID-19 situations when most of us are working from home, or of course the international travel is almost prohibited across the globe, we have a lot of situation of live streaming via the internet or the supply of distance learning. In all these cases, we need to identify where the services have been used and enjoyed. So let's take an example. A UAE based supplier invoices to a recipient based in France for an online advertisement on its website. Now the advertisement space has been given on the website of the service provider based in UAE, but the invoicing is to the recipient based in France. To further this example, based on this online advertisement, the customers in UAE would place the orders on the French supplier's website, and the French supplier would then ship the goods directly from France to the individual customers. Question arises, where the services have been used and enjoyed. Have they been used and enjoyed in UAE because the website was accessed by the people in UAE, or has it been used and enjoyed in France because based on this online advertisement, it is the French supplier which is gaining the benefit? The another example on this is that take a typical example when we have our credit cards, loyalty points and everything, which entitles us to say watch a movie. So we have points accumulated. We utilize or redeem those points for a movie ticket. The movie hall show the movie to us because we are the ones who are entering into the movie hall. But the movie hall basically invoices the credit card company for that movie ticket. Who is the service recipient in that case becomes the first question, and then who has used and enjoyed the services. In the example of a movie hall, the service recipient is of course the credit card company. While I may have enjoyed the service, but the service, or I may have also been benefited by the services contractually has been used and enjoyed by the service recipient, namely the credit card company. So in the example before you on the screen, even though the online advertisement campaign has been executed in UAE, it is still very much possible to contend that the use and enjoyment of the service has happened by the French supplier. Another example or another twist in this example comes, what happens if the same services are being, or the same online advertisement is seen not just by the UAE resident but also by the residents in the other GCC countries like Oman, Saudi and all, because theoretically the websites can be accessed by multiple people. In those cases, while the FTA and the UAE tax authorities have still not given a detailed guidance, we can look into the guidance provided by Saudi Arabia on the digital economy. And they say that the services which are not provided to a specific location, we need to determine the usual place of residence of the customers. And in which case it is possible by these examples, the invoicing address of the customer, the bank account details of the customer, the IP address of the customer, and so we need to kind of keep a track of the IP addresses through which the advertisement has been accessed, or in case of online supply of games, who has accessed the softwares and the gaming software. All these details needs to be maintained by the supplier to determine whether the service has been used and enjoyed in the UAE to make the place of supply is UAE, or to the extent it has been enjoyed outside UAE, then it will be outside the scope of VAT. One another important thing that we need to keep in consideration, just going back on the slide, the place of supply is not for the whole supply as a whole. It is to the extent it has been used and enjoyed. So if I am providing a online gaming supply, uh, or let me take actually an example of a live streaming via internet or the live streaming of distance learning. So take an example, this whole webinar that we are conducting today. Of course, this is a complimentary webinar, but assuming for this webinar, if there was to be a fee on which VAT is applicable or not, the question arises, to what extent this webinar has been used and enjoyed in UAE, and to what extent it has been used and enjoyed outside UAE. Because if we look at the participants, we right now have about 120 plus participants on this webinar. Not all the participants are based in UAE. Some of the participants are based in South Africa, some of the participants are based in France, some of the participants are based in India, and of course, a majority of the participants are based in UAE. So for us as a supplier, if we were to determine the tax liability of such a webinar, which is provided through internet, we would need to determine the extent of the total service fee received, to what extent the service has been used and enjoyed outside UAE, and to what extent inside UAE. So this kind of covers the first step of determining the basic rule, which is the place of residence of the supplier for all such services which are not covered by the special rules. So if we look, tax advisory services not covered by the special rules, normal advertisement campaign not covered by any of the special rules. However, if the service is covered by the special rule, then it will override the basic rule. To determine the place of residence of the supplier, we don't have to just look at the place of establishment. We also have to keep in mind the fixed establishment where the supplier has the necessary technical and human resource to provide such services. And in relation to especially Rule 6, cultural, artistic, similar services, or Rule 9, we need to keep in consideration the first determination of the nature of service, whether it's a supply of goods or services, and to the extent it has been used and enjoyed. Moving on to the second section, which is the export of service rule. Having determined for certain services which is where the place of supply is UAE, the next step is to determine, do we still need to charge VAT, or are those supplies eligible for zero rating? Now there are four scenarios for export of services. The first scenario covers where the condition is the service recipient does not have a place of residence in any of the implementing state. As we discussed, right now there is no implementing state which has been declared. So effectively meaning that if the service recipient is not in UAE, the recipient is outside UAE at the time the service were performed, and the services are not directly connected with either real estate based in UAE or relating to movable personal asset situated in UAE at the time when the service were performed. So in all such cases, the export of service rules apply and such supplies would be zero rated. So take for example, we provide tax advisory services to a company based in France. We provide draft and opinion note, email it to the client, invoice it to the French client. Those services, even though I have drafted the opinion note in the UAE, would still be eligible for zero rating. Similarly, market promotion services or commission services. So I am procuring orders for a client or a manufacturer based anywhere across the globe. And based on the quantum of the orders that are procured for the manufacturer, and the manufacturers then sells and ship the goods directly to that UAE customer. And if we earn a specific commission on such quantum, even though the entire activity has been performed in UAE, the customer which has been identified is in UAE. As we discussed, none of the special rules apply. And those services at the time when I was physically looking at the customers, interacting with the customers, the recipient was outside UAE, and hence those commissions would be zero rated. So that takes us to another case study. If we are saying that, okay, if the service recipient is outside UAE at the time when the physical services were performed, and hence it would be eligible for zero rating. So we have a case that, okay, I have a UAE customer which is based in UAE, and I'm providing tax advisory services to the customer. Sorry, I'm providing to the service. But let's say the customer is into financial services, and hence they cannot recover the input tax credit because some of the financial services are exempt and they are not eligible for the full credit eligible. Because we are talking about scenario 1 of zero rating, which says that, okay, if the service recipient is outside UAE at the time of performance, it's eligible for zero rating. The tax advisory service is not covered by any of the special rules. So does it actually entitles me if the customer says, okay, let's do one thing. Please do not invoice to me within UAE. Please invoice to my head office in France. So on paper, it will look like that, okay, I'm invoicing to a foreign recipient. I'm providing the service to a foreign recipient, whereas in reality, the service has been received by somebody within UAE. So to cover such scenario, there is an exception to this zero rating rule in scenario 1, which basically says that even if you have a contract with a non-resident recipient outside UAE, however, if it is known that the services will be or expected to receive by another person, and it need not be the employee, the branch, subsidiary, it could technically be anybody, because it says including but not limited to an employee or director of the non-resident service recipient, and that recipient could not have otherwise recovered the input tax credit, then in those scenarios, zero rating benefit would not apply. So the crucial things that all the companies need to keep into consideration is that merely because you are invoicing to an overseas entity may not directly entitle you for the zero rating benefit. You still need to consider and check who has received the services. And wherever you have some sort of a ambiguity, it might be prudent to take a clarification and a declaration from the overseas customer as to who will be using the services and who will be receiving the services. Moving on to scenario 2, which is in the fraternity of tax consultants, it's the most debated provision, which basically says that if the services are actually performed outside the implementing state, then it will be eligible for zero rating. It does not per se deals with any of the specific services, the location of the service provider, service recipient, nothing is relevant. If you look at the condition, it simply says, so long as the services are actually performed outside the implementing state, it's eligible for zero rating. So take an example. I am invoicing to a UAE customer documentation and attestation services, but the documentations have been attested in France. The provision says that so long as the services are actually performed outside the implementing state, it should be eligible for zero rating. That becomes a big question. For a moment, assuming that, okay, this provision covers such sort of a services that because the physical activity of documentation attestation happened outside UAE, it should be eligible for zero rating. I can play it around. Let's say I am actually as a tax advisor providing services to a UAE customer and I'm charging VAT on it. But many of the service providers may actually, because of the travel restrictions, be stuck outside UAE. So in our example, let's say the UAE supplier, the tax advisor, is otherwise based in UAE, but however, in the current times, the person is actually based in Belfast, Northern Ireland. I'm just using the country. I like that space. I've been there earlier. So, based in Belfast, Northern Ireland, the same tax advisory services in form of opinion note, email, phone calls have been provided to the same UAE customer. In such a scenario, can we say that since in this particular instance the service has been actually performed outside UAE, it should be eligible for zero rating? This is the dichotomy that all of us needs to identify. Therefore, scenario 2, when we talk about services actually performed outside the implementing state, a very broad interpretation and wide coverage to say that any service performed outside will be eligible for zero rating would be grossly wrong, and it could actually lead to penalties in the later stages whenever FTA audit happens. So please review what are the tax positions that you have taken, whether you are taking a very wide interpretation of this provision, or as we discussed, specific place of supply rules, where only very specific services are based on the place of performance. Only those or such services are eligible for either zero rating or outside the scope of that. The two other scenarios for eligible for zero rating is where the services are not the direct services but relating to arranging of services which are actually performed outside the implementing state. Even those arrangement of services is eligible for zero rating. This essentially takes care of the intermediary services. So somebody does not directly provide the services, only arrange the services which are being actually performed, and in those cases, such intermediary services will also be eligible for zero rating. So a very technical and a subtle point I'll just like to mention without discussing in detail for the paucity of time is intermediary services versus subcontractor services are two different things. So I can arrange for getting a house constructed, and I can take the contract for constructing a house and then subcontract various parts of it to different people. So please, again, depending on the business profiles that the participants have, please see whether you are arranging a service or you are subcontracting the service. And the last scenario is relating to the facilitation of outbound tour packages. Again, considering the participants mix, scenario 4 is something we are not discussing in detail. So that kind of takes us to the discussions on the place of supply rules. And in case the place of supply of services happens to be UAE, we still need to check whether we are eligible for the export of service rules. Two basic rules, scenario 1 and scenario 2. If the service recipient is outside, to which there is an exception that the end recipient should not be someone in UAE itself to kind of circumvent the tax recovery. And the second scenario, the interpretation of scenario 2, when the services are actually performed outside UAE. So we move on to the next sections of monthly updates. Just to remind everyone, this time we have intentionally kept the webinar for 1.5 hours. So we will cover the monthly update in the next 10 minutes, and we will we'll try to spend the next half an hour on the Q&A with the participants. So this is the news of today. I don't know how much or how many of the participants are already aware of it. Something all of us woke up to today morning, that Saudi Arabia has proposed an increase of VAT rate from 5% to 15% from 1st of July 2020, in light of the current economic scenarios. A lot of other austerity measures have already also been taken, and it's anybody's guess whether UAE and Bahrain would follow. Just to also share with you, way back in September 2019, IMF did recommend Saudi Arabia should increase the VAT rate from 5% to 10%. So, of course, I'm no economist, but the macroeconomic implications of such a VAT rate increase would have to be taken into consideration. And this basically also leads to another issue that all of us, as the company's business owners, needs to be now more careful and more particular about the input tax recovery. We have in the last 2.5 years experienced that considering the tax quantum, many companies forego tax credit on the small amounts. But now, suppose assuming the VAT rate increases in the UAE as well, it's just a guess or a scenario. It might be a right time to proactively get your all input tax positions corrected. In case you are foregoing any credit, please take it as soon as possible. Also, the fact that please review all your existing contracts with the customers, and if your contract does not already have a clause, get a clause added whereby any future increase in the VAT rate, you are able to claim it from the customer over and above your basic agreed price. So just take an example. If the contract says, okay, this price is additional 5% VAT would be charged, then if 5 becomes 15 or 5 becomes 10, the customer may have a right to say that we agreed only for 5% VAT, versus if you say that any VAT as in force on the date of supply would be charged. That's more generic clause, and in which case you'll be able to recover whether it 5 becomes 10 or 15. But this shows a kind of trend where the GCC region is moving to. In terms of tax compliance calendar, all of us know that last tax period, which either be quarterly from 1st January to 31st March, or monthly from 1st March to 31st March, the tax returns were otherwise due on 28th of April. However, looking at the current scenario and the FTS notification specifically mentioned certain areas in Dubai were under lockdown and people were not able to visit their office. The deadline both for submission of VAT return as well as for tax payment has been extended by 1 month, that is from 28th April to 28th May. So no later than 28th of May, the companies, taxpayers who had the tax period ending on 31st March 2020, be it monthly tax period or quarterly, needs to submit their VAT return as well as make the tax payment. To the extent of the current tax periods, be it the monthly tax period of April or the quarterly tax period ending on 30th of April 2020, there has been no such extension till now, and the date remains 28th of May. So only for one set of tax periods the date has been extended. The whole tax periods calendar has not been shifted by 1 month throughout 2020. So please do not miss your timelines, failing which there are two set of penalties which can be imposed. One is the delay in submission of the VAT return, and the second is delay in payment of VAT, which could be 2% if you don't pay it by 28th of May. We always discuss it. Another 4% if you don't pay beyond 1 week from 28th of May. And after completion of 1 month, it is 1% penalty which starts getting accumulated into your e-service account. Another thing we just want to highlight here, please do check your e-services account. When the penalties are being imposed, you do not receive any specific email or notification. More often than not, the companies would have the penalty reflecting on their e-service account. and there are only 20 working days from the date of the order in which an appeal can be submitted against any penalty order or any FTA assessment. So suppose a penalty has been imposed on you theoretically somewhere in March, and you have not opened your e-service account for the next 3 months because your next quarterly return is due after 3 months, you might lose the time to submit an appeal. So please keep checking your e-service account to check whether rightly or wrongly any sort of penalty has been imposed. Another update, we had conducted earlier also a webinar on economic substance regulation. Recording of it is available on YouTube. The dates for most of the free zones have been announced. Economic substance regulation is basically, just to summarize, is the set of regulations which has been introduced in pursuant to OECD and the European Union policies, wherein the companies, if they are engaged in any of the relevant activities, there are 9 relevant activities. Irrespective of the turnover threshold, they need to submit, if they are conducting those relevant activities, they need to submit a notification by the timelines as reflected on the slide in front of you. And by 31st of December 2019, you need to submit a detailed ESR report. The penalties in ESR is very, very stringent. Apart from financial penalties, it could also lead in terms of revocation or suspension of your trade license. So please make sure if you want to view the recording of ESR, either give it in the feedback form, which will appear at the end of this webinar, or access it on YouTube. In one of the handouts, you can actually get the links of all our webinars and guidance video. You can access it through that as well. But please make sure that if ESR is applicable to you, you comply with all these deadlines and the timelines, and also examine whether ESR is applicable or not. This is something which we covered in our last webinar on COVID-19 also. Just a reminder that FTA do provide a facility for companies to seek an extension of their tax period. So companies who are on a monthly tax period basis on certain criteria can apply for an administrative exception to seek an extension from a monthly to a quarterly tax period, which will help you both administratively in terms of time hours spent in preparation of return, as well as the cash flows. And similarly, certain companies, depending on their level of turnover, I understand it's 9 million. We had a recent discussion with one of our good clients that if it is up to 9 million, then you can also seek a half yearly tax period, in which case you are again saved for the cash flows for a period of 6 months. And the process of administrative exception is very, very simple. You can download an application form available on the FTA website, fill it in, give the reasons for seeking an extension, and send it to a specific email ID given there. And we have successfully been able to get either the length of tax period extended for a few of our clients, or other exceptions relating to stagger, tax invoice, and credit notes from the FTA. Another repeat from our last webinar, but it is very crucial because of late we are seeing a lot of such cases. Please note that if your turnover, if your company's turnover in the last 12 months was less than 187,500, and you are not expecting to, in the next 30 days itself, the turnover to cross 187,500 for those 30 days alone, you need to mandatorily deregister, and within 20 working days, failing which there is a penalty of 10,000 dirham. So we have come across cases where the companies or the tax client says that the trade license is active, but we have frozen the trade license. That is, we are not doing any activity, there is no turnover, but the trade license is active, and accordingly the VAT registration is being kept alive. This is in gross violation of the provisions of the VAT law. If, again repeating, your last 12 months turnover even though the trade license is active, your last 12-month turnover is less than 187,500 dirhams, you need to mandatorily deregister within 20 working days. So if you have set of companies and trade licenses, please make sure that you get your position reviewed and apply for a deregistration as soon as possible. So with this, I will hand over to Farah for the Q&A session. We will pick up some of the questions that you have posted in the question box, following which Farah will announce the participant name, unmute them. We will request you to unmute yourself and ask the question. Farah, over to you, please.
Thank you, Pankaj. Before we begin the Q&A session, I would want to inform our participants that there will be a short survey feedback for, which we would be wanting you all to fill up, because your feedback is very valuable to us. So please do fill it up at the end of the webinar session. Now for the Q&A, we are just resetting the hands button. So whoever wishes to ask questions can please click on the hands button, and we will unmute you and request you to ask your question, and by unmuting yourself. So we have, should we pick up a question, because we have a lot of questions in the being posted to us as well.
Yes, please.
There's a question from Mrs. Okay. So we have a question from Mrs. Suhair here, who's asking if the payment is made to a software developer outside UAE. It would be outside UAE, is VAT chargeable on this transaction? If the payment is made to a software developer outside UAE, is VAT chargeable on this transaction?
So if the software developer is based outside UAE, then as we discussed, special rule 2, since the service recipient is in UAE, the place of supply is UAE, and the software could also fall under the electronically supplied services, in which case the use and enjoyment is in UAE. However, if the overseas software developer is not registered for the UAE VAT, the recipient needs to account for the VAT under reverse charge.
Okay, great. Let's take a question from our participant here, Mr. Swapnil Survey. I'll be unmuting you, sir, now. Hello, Mr. Swapnil.
Hi, Farah. Hi, Pankaj.
Hello, Mr. Sir. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hi, the session was really nice. Great to have insights from you as always. My question over here would be, I'm having a firm based in DWC, and my 100% of the business is import the goods to export. So am I required to register for a VAT? And my turnover is about $100,000.
So the question that will come here when it comes to registration is the place where you are importing the goods. So if you are importing the goods in a designated zone and then exporting it from the designated zone itself, both the transactions will be outside the scope of VAT, and the registration threshold would not be meeting the 375,000 dirhams, and no requirement for registration. However, if you are importing in a mainland, keeping the goods in the mainland, even though with some logistics service provider, and then exporting it from mainland, those exports will qualify as zero rating, but the turnover of zero rating is to be considered for the registration.
All right. Now, my goods are imported, they are kept in Jebel Ali, and they are exported from Jebel Ali itself to the place of the exports. So technically, no need for me to get my company registered for a VAT in DWC.
Yes, it's not required. But in case, just to get a clarity, you may seek a clarification from FTA. There is a process which will kind of help you have a determined order from FTA to show to the authorities in the future.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Pankaj.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll take question from Noorjahan Shahenshah. Unmuting you, Noorjahan Shahenshah. I'm unable to unmute her. Okay, can we take on Mr. Mohammad Rauf? Sir, unmuting you right now. Hello, Mr. Rauf.
I think he's gone offline.
Okay, let's pick a question from Nasir Muhammad. Mr. Nasir, unmuting right now.
Yeah. You can hear
Yes,
me?
we can.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So with regards to services, what is the difference between out of services? To the extent I know, I have not seen anything kind of out of scope services, but some experts are giving opinion that it is out of scope. So what is the basic difference between out of scope services and zero rated services?
So the basic difference is that the out of scope services is outside the purview of UAE VAT. So we don't have to, as of today, show it in the VAT return as well, and that turnover is not declared in the VAT returns. At the same time, when we
No,
look,
but
if we are into providing of services which are outside the scope, as I just mentioned in the previous reply, the turnover of such transactions are not considered for the purpose of registration under VAT, in case we are yet to apply for registration. On the other hand,
I am talking about the nature of the service.
Sorry, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm talking about the nature of service. For example, I have a base in Dubai and I'm providing service to somebody in US. Okay. So as per the provisions of the regulations, it comes under zero rated because I'm providing service to somebody out of the country, but I am based out of UAE. So should it not be zero rated? Why it should be out of scope?
Not necessary, sir. That was the whole purpose of the webinar. That if the place of supply of service is outside UAE, so take for example, if I'm providing installation services or if I'm providing artistic services and those are performed outside UAE, so even though I'm based in UAE, those will remain outside the scope of VAT. So it is not necessary that the company to whom we are invoicing will determine whether it's zero rated or not.
So, but I am suppose let us say IT service. For example, IT service, I am doing something here.
Yes, sir.
For example, I am developing something, but I am doing for somebody outside UAE.
Yeah.
I am developing some IT tool for somebody, and it is given to a company outside UAE. So in such case, is it zero rated or out of scope?
Sir, again, we need to see the use and enjoyment of such services because supply of software is under the electronically supplied services. And
Okay.
to the extent it is used and enjoyed outside UAE, the place of supply could very well be outside UAE rather than zero rated.
Okay. But is there any
So if you
opinion
allow,
given
can
by
we take this question offline just for the benefit of other participants?
Okay, fine.
Sure.
Fine.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a question here from one of the participants. They're asking, when export of service, is it necessary to mention tax invoice or can we only mention invoice and the services are zero rated?
So that's an interesting question. We have a guidance video available on tax invoices, and it is also interplay with the declaration of implementing states in the future. So any invoice to the implementing state should not, there is a specific declaration, should not be titled as a tax invoice. On the other hand, if it is a zero rated invoices, nothing prohibits you from titling it as a tax invoice.
Okay, perfect. Let's take a question from participant, Mr. Sushil Jain. Mr. Sushil Jain, I'm unmuting you. Can you please ask your question?
Hi Pankaj, this is Sushil here. I have just a small question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, I have staff recruited from France and deployed in Morocco.
Okay.
The consultants have been recruited from the France and deployed in Morocco. This service will be like out of scope for me, or it will be like a export of services to the clients who are based in London.
So it's interplay of both the things. If I can go back on the slide, just hold on. So we talked about the basic rule and then the special rule. And if you remember in the special rule, we talked about special rule number 2. The service provider is outside UAE, recipient is inside UAE. So when the French company is invoicing you, that will fall under RCM. And then when you are invoicing to the Moroccan customer, it will be treated as zero rated. One thing you need to consider is whether this manpower is involved in any installation services or it's a simple manpower supply.
It is on the field basis, like they are recruited on the technical development at the field, like oil fields. Take an example.
Yeah, so that nature of service we perhaps need to examine in detail, whether it falls under services relating to goods. Otherwise, it will not be outside the scope of VAT just because the manpower is moving directly from France to Morocco. RCM as well as export will apply.
I'm paying them salaries. Those are consultants, like they have paid us monthly basis remuneration.
Yes, sir, but they are not on
It's
your
like
payroll.
invoicing they are done.
You might be paying them a monthly
They're not
fee,
on my payroll.
but they are not your employees.
Okay.
That's our understanding.
No, they're not. Yes, correct. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sushil. Okay, now Mr. Vikas, I'm unmuting you. Can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Pankaj, and thank you, Farah, for the for this webinar. It's quite useful for, I'm sure, for everybody who's been on the webinar today. I have a question. It's a project management company in UAE who's being subcontracted by another UAE-based entity who's an architect. The architect received a contract from Bahamas for the architectural purposes and also for doing project management and cost management services. So architecture company subcontracted a project management company in UAE to provide project management and cost management. The project is going to be for 2.5 years. First 6 months will be provided from here, and the remaining 2 years, staff will be subcontract, or staff will be moving to Bahamas to provide the services. So the question is, the invoicing that the project management company will do to the architect company, both being in UAE, will it be outside the scope, or will it be zero rated, or will it be standard rated?
Of course, this needs to be discussed in detail, but I'll just take you through the special rule 7 that we talked about, and which says that if it's relation to preparation or coordination of construction, as you're mentioning project management services, the place of supply will be the location of real estate. And if it's in Bahamas, then it should fall under outside the scope of VAT.
Right, okay. So, okay, fine.
So,
and same would be obviously for the architecture company. I mean, when they invoice the client, because project management company is going to invoice a company based in UAE, which is the architectural company. So that really doesn't matter because it falls under special rule 7.
Possible. As I said, a bit more detailed discussion would be required to understand the scope of service and how do we demonstrate that the services were actually the same and not any additional service.
Okay. So how do we demonstrate that? Because
there are various factors, because there would be a scope of work, there would be timesheets and many other things that will determine what was the nature of work done.
Okay. I need to start invoicing them from next month. So, whom should I contact to get clarification on this? And how do I
Post the
do it?
webinar, you can contact us. Our contact numbers have already been shared, and we can have a
Okay.
offline discussion in detail.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vikas. Now I would be taking a question from Ginevra. Unmuting you right now. I'm unable to unmute her. There's a question we can pick from unmuting Kokovi. I hope I'm
Ginevra has
pronouncing
been
the name
unmuted.
correctly.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hi Ginevra, you're there. Okay.
Thank you for the webinar. And I want to request a question regarding the place of supply in case there is an export of service from a company registered in UAE and it has already the VAT registered, and the company export a service in Saudi Arabia, as understood is out of scope if the client of this company is in Saudi Arabia. What is the difference instead if the company provide another service, so it export another service in another to another client, always in GCC countries, for example in Yemen, but in a country where it has not been implemented the VAT. So it's zero-rated or out of scope for the export of service to the client in Yemen.
So,
Are there any differences between, countries in GCC that have implemented the VAT, or with countries like Saudi, Oman, and Bahrain, anyway, for the export?
understood. So, first clarification, as of today, we have not said that services supplied to KSA is outside the scope. Please note that there is a note that GCC countries have not yet been notified as a implementing state. So as of today, if there is a service provided which is not following any other special rule, it would be zero rated as export of service.
So there is no differences.
As of today,
everywhere out. Okay, it's always zero rated.
Depending on the nature of service. If the service is relating to, say, installation, transportation, means of transport, cultural, artistic, then depending on the real estate related services, the place of performance could become relevant to make it outside the scope of VAT.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll just take up one question from Mr. Nitesh. Farah?
Yes, unmuting Mr. Nitish, you can, hello.
Hello, Pankaj sir. Very good afternoon. Thanks for the seminar.
Thank you.
I'm your junior
I
in
remember,
LTS Studio.
good to hear your voice.
Thank you so much. So the issue is Indian subsidiary company rendering online services. Say, for example, online workout services, a workout company, gym services, health fitness services. Okay. Will this qualify to be an electronic service and requires the place of supply will qualify to be in UAE, or will it qualify only to be export of service from India?
So while the export of service rules under the Indian law are of course independent, in the sense that even if a service, the place of supply is in UAE, it does not technically prohibit it to be an export from India. But if you look at on your screen right now, clause C, which says the supply of images, text, information, be it in forms of digitized documents and files. So if somebody is fitness companies providing FitNow sessions, recorded sessions, Of course, it's being supplied as a files, electronic image and files over the internet. And if the subscriber is based in UAE, the place of supply becomes UAE being used and enjoyed. Or on the other hand, if the entire fitness session is being live streamed, then clause H would become applicable. And to the extent the subscriber is in UAE, the place of supply will be UAE.
So if it has human intervention or non-human intervention, still place of supply qualifies to be in UAE.
What do we mean by human intervention?
Means live classes versus non-live classes, pre-recorded versus non-pre-recorded.
Yeah, irrespective of that, as far as the UAE VAT laws, both the situations, to the extent they have been used and enjoyed in UAE, place of supply falls to be UAE.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mitesh. Okay, taking the next question from Mr. Kokovi. Unmuting you, sir, right now. Hello.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, please, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, first, I would like to thank you very much for this web seminar. It's very nice. And yeah, my question is, we have a company located in the free zone of Dubai. We buy computer science and computer software from Dubai, and then we export our goods to Africa. So yeah, the company was operating in Dubai for 1 year, and then we didn't register for VAT until now.
Okay.
So yeah, we just wanted to know if we are supposed to register or not.
You are a mainland company?
Sorry?
The goods that you are procuring were in the mainland?
It's computer software.
From the dealers in UAE?
Yes, from Dubai to Africa.
Yeah. So, and you're also mentioning that you are exporting softwares. From the limited fact, it appears that the turnover would be a zero rated, because either the physical export from mainland or supply of services by a UAE company is anyway zero rated. And to that extent, your zero rated turnover would be considered for the purpose of registration requirement. The law allows a company which has exclusively zero rated turnover to seek an exception from registration, but the application is still mandatory. Of course, the threshold is 375,000 dirham.
Okay, so it doesn't matter the social capital of the company, right?
No, the capital of the company is not relevant.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, we will go to Mr. Mohit Bansal. Mr. Mohit Bansal, I'm muting you right now. Could you please ask a question?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this session. My question is on administrative exceptions. So while the form has conditions where we want to change the length to 6 months, I could not see specific conditions to change from 1 month to 3 months. Can you advise if any separate conditions exist? Because in practicality, we have applied 5 months back, but have not received any response yet to change from 1 month to 3 months, though they say response will be given within 40 days usually.
Yeah, so 5 months is a bit too long period. You can follow up on the request. Generally, we have experienced that the response comes in a matter of 1 month to 1.5 months. The other thing is on the guidance from monthly turnover to quarterly turnover, there is no technical guidance in terms of legal provisions. But way back in 2017, when VAT was being introduced, FTA had given a clarification or a guidance in terms of their sessions and all, that companies having turnover of 150 million and above annually would be given monthly tax periods, and companies which have annual turnover less than 150 million would be given quarterly tax periods.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take two more questions before we conclude today's webinar.
Okay, so let's take a question from Mr. Swapnil. Mr. Swapnil, unmuting you right now. Mr. Swapnil, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Okay, let's take a question from Kavita. Kavita, unmuting you right now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for this informative session. I have a question regarding tax clearance certificate tab, which has been recently introduced on the FTA portal. So for which particular purpose it can be used? And has it any connection with the deregistration also?
Yes, so the deregistration process under VAT versus cancellation of your trade license. We, in the last 2.5 years, there are a lot of cases where the companies have got their trade license cancelled, but their VAT registration either was continuing, and in some of the cases they had VAT amount still due for payment. So now this clearance certificate concept has been added, and FTA has clarified also in one of the Q&A that for cancellation of the trade license, you need to get a clearance certificate from FTA and submit it as process of the trade license cancellation.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, let's pick a question from Mr. Rupen Shah. He says our company arranges for all its work outside UAE, and it is for our customers to go outside UAE. Do we need to register for VAT? Our turnover is above threshold, and we are a DWC-based company. So do they need to register for VAT?
If Mr. Rupesh is there, can we unmute him, because we just need to understand the question further.
Mr. Rupen. No, I think he's left the question in the question box.
Hello.
Okay. No, Miss, I'm not able to find him.
Yeah,
I think he's gone offline.
One needs to understand when they say for all its work outside UAE, what is the nature of work or the nature of services, because that will determine whether the special rules apply or not.
Okay. Then we'll just take a quick question from one of the participants. Zahana here asked that is there a deadline for the ESR with respect to JAVSA or otherwise?
JAVSA has still not issued the notification for the ESR. It is expected anytime soon. But if we look at the chart, Dubai South has put 7th June as the timeline. So I don't know whether JAVSA will continue with 30th of June or 7th of June as the timeline. But the notification is yet to come out.
Okay. Okay. So I think we would really like to thank you, Pankaj, for your insight.
Just pick up one question, because that question is very important and common. We have a question from Ms. Rashmi Kapoor saying that reimbursement of travel expenses incurred by my supplier in China for my employees as well as for their employees, but travel took place in China. Is it outside the scope or not? So if we look at the special rules, of course, we have not discussed the special rule number 5 and special rule number 8. The reimbursement, which is generally in relation to restaurant, hotel, or transportation related services, the place of supply is where the services actually took place or performed. So as you're mentioning, the travel took place in China. any reimbursement of those expenses to the extent of your employees would be outside the scope, both as disbursement and the activity took place in China. To the extent the supplier is charging you for the reimbursement of their employees, we need to examine what is the principal supply from this Chinese supplier. So if the Chinese supplier is invoicing you for some services, say market promotion or something, then all the expenses relating to the employees for providing such service would constitute into the valuation of that service, and you might have to account for reverse charge on this reimbursement of their employee plus the service charge.
Okay. So that answers Rashmi's question. Would we want to take any other questions? I think we are out of time almost now. Yes. Okay. So I think thank you, Pankaj, for your insights and contribution in today's session. It was really helpful with the clarity. And we would once again like to thank Goodbye South for their continuing support and collaboration to conduct these sessions. And thank you to the participants for your active participation in today's webinar. And we hope that the discussion and the topics were helpful and valuable. We will reach out to you for our next webinar and periodic updates. And we again genuinely want your feedback. So please fill up the feedback form that will appear on your screen after the webinar. And please feel free to contact us if you need any assistance. And with this, I would like to end today's webinar and wishing you all good health, stay safe and stay healthy. Until next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.